What's up, little rays of sunshine? Today I actually want to have a more serious video. I actually had a video planned for this week. I had it all filmed and edited and everything, and then today I just really felt on my heart to make a video talking about something that's really important to me. I thought maybe actually this week I'm gonna do this instead. This actually is a video that maybe is a little bit hard for me. I first want to start off by just saying that I recognize and know that I'm not a doctor and I'm not a therapist, I'm not a counselor. So really you have no reason to listen to what I'm going to say other than just the fact that I have experienced it. And that's the only knowledge I have of it, is from my own experiences and kind of what I've learned along the way. A revelation that I've had about anxiety and depression is the fact that your thoughts and emotions and feelings within those things are so real and valid, but they're not based within reality. I want to explain what I mean by that. But I want to explain it by just telling you a story. I can still remember the first time I ever had an anxiety attack. When I was 12 years old, my mom and dad sat me down and they told me that they were going to be getting divorced and that my dad wasn't going to be living with us anymore, which is a normal thing that happens to families these days. But I had a thought as a 12-year-old whenever they told me that. All I could think was running through my mind of what could I have done to fix it? Oh, I should have seen the signs. I should have known that this was coming and I should have done something different. This is my fault. What I remember was a few weeks later, I was laying on the couch in my grandma's living room. My mom and I had went to live with her for a little while, and it was like a brick had landed on my chest and I couldn't breathe. And I was so overwhelmed with fear. And I didn't understand what was happening, and my mom heard me wheezing and trying to gasp for air and assumed I was having an asthma attack. But my inhaler was still at my house that I had grown up in, where my dad was. And so my mom said, okay, I'm gonna drive to the house really quick and I'm gonna get your inhaler. But I demanded that I go with her, and she didn't understand why, and I didn't understand what was happening in my mind, but all I could think was that my dad had died. And in my mind, over and over and over again, was that my dad had died, my dad had died. And I didn't understand what that feeling was and why I was thinking it. But I remember getting to my house and seeing my dad walk out of the garage, and I fell to the ground in this relief that he hadn't died. And it was a real thought. It was a reasonable thought. It was a real feeling, but it absolutely was not based within reality. Now, this revelation that I've had is new to me. I've only actually kind of gained this revelation within the past year and a half or so. But as I look back on all of the times in the past 10 years of battling anxiety and depression, I see it as a common theme within my thoughts in those moments. And I think that if it's a common theme within my own mind, then surely it has to be a common theme within other people as well. See, I'm a Christian, and so I believe in God, but I also believe that we have an enemy, and I very strongly believe that that enemy likes to make us feel like we're the only ones battling it. Because if we're isolated, then we're easy, and I think that he likes easy. Like I said, I'm a Christian, and I know that some of you guys might not be, but the reality is I don't think that the enemy really cares whether or not you believe in him, because I think he's pouring the same lies into your mind as he is into the minds of Christians. You see, I can remember moments of feeling like I was the only one. In the moments of having anxiety attacks and feeling like nothing around me was real and feeling like I couldn't control or understand anything that was going on. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think properly. I would take a jar of peanut butter and a John Mayer record, and I would play that record out loud on repeat, and I would sit and I would eat peanut butter. And I think that sounds a little bit weird, but my reasoning in that was that I knew exactly what John Mayer's voice was going to sound like as soon as he started singing, and I knew exactly what the peanut butter was going to taste like as soon as I started eating it. And those were things that I could control. I could control what I was listening to, and I could control what I was tasting with my mouth, and I knew what it was going to be, and that taste and that sound wasn't going to change no matter what. But in the midst of that, as the anxiety would get worse and worse and worse, and it wouldn't stop or go away, I remember that I would have moments where I would sit in the corner and rock back and forth and just say over and over again, I'm not crazy, I'm not crazy. All of those feelings that I had of anxiety and depression was before I met Jesus. I became a Christian when I was 16. I don't think that I really started following him until I was about 17, but I think that it's really important to mention that after I became a Christian, those feelings didn't go away. I can remember being frustrated with God whenever I started following him, because he was supposed to take those feelings away and he was supposed to make them stop, and he didn't. And that was really, really hard. I remember asking God why he wasn't taking away my anxiety, and why he wasn't taking away fear, and why he wasn't taking away my sadness, and I can remember him kind of reminding me that all of those things were almost like branches of this bigger tree that was being grown because of a root that I had allowed to come into my mind. I felt like I needed to not focus on these branches that I could see with my eyes, but to look towards the root that I was feeding. As I looked back at the moments where anxiety and depression first became a part of my life, I remembered it was when my parents told me that they were going to be getting divorced. Now the thing is that it's not their fault that it became a part of my life. It was a decision that I made to allow it to take root inside of me. But the thing is I not only did I allow it to take root inside of my mind, but I watered it and I fed it by not getting out of bed for weeks or sobbing for hours because of thoughts that weren't unreasonable, but they weren't reality. I guess my whole point in making this video is a couple of things. The first thing is that I just want everyone to know that they aren't by themselves in the way that they're feeling, but I also want to bring recognition to the fact that it is a feeling, and we absolutely get to decide whether or not we allow the way that we feel to determine the way that we interact with people. We get to decide whether or not we let our feelings decide for us our actions. As I travel and meet new people and hear their stories, I've begun to recognize that anxiety and depression have become rampant through our generation, and it's almost becoming like our new normal. But I want to encourage you and tell you that it does not have to be that way. The thing is I'm not another Christian sitting here and telling you to just get off your butt and just be happy. There are still days where I wake up and it takes me half an hour or longer of giving myself a pep talk before I'm ever even able to put one foot out of my bed and onto the floor. So yeah, I know that it's hard. Now hear me correctly. It won't be easy and it won't happen overnight, but you get to make a choice every single day. On days where getting out of bed seems like a daunting and physically draining task that won't matter either way, you get to make a choice to let your depression win, or you get to win. And in moments where you can't breathe and it's as if a brick has landed on your chest and every memory and thought and fear that you've ever had is being spiraled like a tornado within your mind, you get to make a decision to overcome that anxiety or allow it to overcome you. And there might be days where your anxiety and depression wins, but that doesn't mean that you're never going to overcome it, because it won't be easy, but it's going to be possible. And sometimes I think that that's the better option. I think that we are all warriors, but we just have a battlefield that looks a little bit different. And our struggle is within our mind. And so the weapons that are being drawn against us are not visible and also not based in reality. But that doesn't mean that you can stop fighting and keep choosing happiness and keep choosing joy every single day, even in the moments where it feels like there's no point. Because sometimes walking in the opposite direction of the way that your feelings are telling you to walk is the hardest thing that you've ever done. But it'll change your entire life and it'll change your entire perspective. I think that you're warriors, and I want you to know that you're not alone.